Hey everybody, we're back here at Meet the Candidate. I'm John Stiles, and to my immediate right is Ed Uehling and his campaign manager, Mark Magdalullo.
That's correct, Marco Magdalullo.
Marco Magdalullo. Okay,
you.
cool. Thank you for letting me butcher your name. Ed, and thank you for taking the time to come in so that the voters get a chance to know about you and why you're here and what you're running for and what you're going to do about it.
No.
So you're running for lieutenant governor, is that correct?
Yes, that's right. But
Okay.
first, thank you for your offices, for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. That's how we roll at WWDB TV.
Okay.
So, Lieutenant Governor, Nevada, and your party affiliation is?
No political party,
Okay, nonpartisan.
nonpartisan.
Okay,
Right.
and the reason that I ask that is because you are actually listed on the a lot of the websites as independent, and some people do not understand that there is a couple of independent parties, independent this, independent that.
That's right.
But nonpartisan means that you are not affiliated with any specific political party.
That's correct.
Okay, why would you want to run as a nonpartisan? I mean, it's a lot more difficult. You don't have the huge party and all the money behind you. So what made you decide to run as nonpartisan?
Well, the job itself cries for a nonpartisan. There are two aspects to the job. The first is to referee the fights between the Republicans and Democrats in the state Senate, and the second job is to bring tourists to the state. So in refereeing fights, you don't pick a referee. One of the camps doesn't pick the referee.
Well,
that wouldn't make sense. Or have the people in the stadium say, "Oh, this team gets to pick the referee this time."
That's an excellent answer to start out with, because that was one of the questions on my list. As the lieutenant governor, you are basically the tiebreaker in any vote.
That's right.
In the state. So you answered one of my questions already. That being nonpartisan is, to me, is perfect. Because if you're not aligned with one party or the other, you have a chance to be a lot more unbiased.
And listen to both sides.
Right.
There's no crime for some of these partisans. It's a crime to listen, even talk to the other side.
Yeah.
But we should hear what both sides have to say, and come up with what benefits the people in the state.
Is this your first time running for political office?
No, I've run for other offices.
Okay.
Have you
served in any?
I've never
capacity?
been elected.
Okay.
No.
So then.
I elect myself to go to a lot of public meetings,
Right.
to speak at the public meetings.
And I understand that,
and
I think that
make
we
my case.
actually need more of that. We discussed a little bit before the show. Most of you who watch this show a lot know that one of my beliefs is that if you want to run for public office, you should not be allowed to. And I say that with a little bit of tongue in cheek. You all know that, but it's what prompted you? What made you say, "Damn it, I got to run. I got to do this"?
Well, this office is just perfect for me because I've done a lot of traveling and living abroad, and know that Las Vegas has to take the next step into the international area, I mean,
Right.
and attract international tourists, because that's where the money is. That's where 90% of the money is in the world. And because foreigners love Las Vegas, and we just don't do enough to bring them here.
Right. Well,
And
no matter where you go in the world, if you say you're from Las Vegas, they know where you're from. They know Las Vegas.
That's right.
And that is part of the job of the lieutenant governor, is to bring business into the state of Nevada.
Yes.
So how do you plan on doing that part of the job? What ideas or concepts do you have that you think is going to make that effective?
Well, I would really concentrate on the market of China, because it's I've been there a lot. I know that Chinese people love Las Vegas. In fact, all the cities in China are trying to copy Las Vegas and have lots of lights in their cities and make it really lively. And I know that they want to come here, and their market is the biggest, by far the biggest in the world.
Oh, heck yeah.
12 years ago, the Chinese spent about $35 billion a year outside of China, international tourists. Last year, they spent $291 billion, which is more than double what Americans spend, what the people of the richest country on earth spend abroad.
Are there any direct flights between here and China? Las Vegas and China?
Oh, so far only the Hainan airline flight. I think it's three or four times a week.
That's it?
Yes.
And that's a direct flight from Las Vegas to Beijing?
To Beijing, right.
Okay.
That's right.
Wow.
There are many flights, though. There are many flights that's coming from Los Angeles, of course, going to Guangzhou, for
but that's what I meant.
Yeah.
They fly from here to L.A. or Denver or Atlanta, and then from there to here.
Right. But my point is, it's so inexpensive to come to Las Vegas via Los Angeles. It's very inexpensive. It's more expensive going in there from, let's say, from Hong Kong to Macau, for example, or somewhere in mainland China. Going to Macau is very, very expensive. Is that correct?
Kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, from Beijing to Macau is about $550, and from Beijing to Las Vegas is about the same amount.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it cost me 3 times that to fly to the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened. But and when you get to Macau, well, first of all, before a Chinese person, a person living in Beijing can go to Macau, he has to go get a special permit from the government that's not needed to come to Las Vegas.
Seriously.
And he can only use that permit. He can only get that permit 3 or 4 times a year, and he cannot go to Hong Kong on the same trip. Hong Kong is a neighbor of Macau.
No. I've been to Hong Kong a couple of times. So.
Okay, so you know Macau is just across the river.
Right.
Now there's a bridge that was just opened up last week, $20 billion bridge.
So that seems kind of short-sighted on the part of the Chinese government. You would think that you would want your people spending money in your own country as opposed to somewhere else. And if they're making it, or if it's so much easier to come here than it is to go to Macau, that sure doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
Well, it's a long trip, first of all, and
about 12 hours, 10, 12 hours?
Yeah, about 12 hours,
Yeah,
yes,
12 hours.
to come here.
Right.
And from Beijing down to Macau, it's about 3 hours or 3.5 hours. And as I say, you need this special permit to go there, and you can only get it 3 or 4 times a year. When you get to Macau, you'll be hard pressed to find a hotel room for under $300.
Okay.
And so it's much more costly to go to Macau than it is to come to Las Vegas. But one of their advantages to going to Macau, for example, there's no tax on your winnings.
Right. Okay.
The Macau is an independent country virtually. They don't contribute anything to China.
Right.
So when you say, well, why don't they?
I
It's
understand.
not
Okay.
considered a Chinese part of China.
Gotcha.
in that way. All the money stays in Macau, and they do a lot of stuff with it. If you want, we can discuss that. They have a $50 billion surplus in their budget, or not surplus, but reserve in their budget, and they do a lot of things for the community that doesn't happen here. Here, our governments are lucky to have $100 million in their reserves.
So what can we do to help draw more of those tourists to Las Vegas?
Well, in the case of China, all we have to do is invite them to come, make it clear that we want them to come here. and I would do that through inviting them,
Right.
through officially inviting them. The Chinese have a lot of respect for government officials, and they would love it if a government official from Nevada or from the United States would invite them to come to the United States. They would respect that. And if you go talk to them, or if you meet with them, or do anything, I mean, that's a historic event from their point of view.
Do you think, and I'm sorry for going in this direction, but do you
No,
think in
please.
the current political climate in this country makes the Chinese or people from other countries hesitate coming here?
That's beginning to come up.
Right.
Before all this fighting over nothing, really, fighting that hurts American citizens.
Yeah.
in many ways. Here we are, particularly targeting China, putting on these tariffs on China. And who pays those tariffs? The people in the United States pay that.
Yeah.
And then when we can't, and then if they retaliate, or which they really don't want to do, but it's only common sense that you fight back. Okay, so when they put a tariff on soybeans,
Yeah, that's a big issue right now.
then we create a bunch of welfare cases in the United States. We put all the farmers on welfare.
Yeah,
this is
but
insane.
the farmers don't care because they're going to get their money from the
That's-
feds now.
yeah.
And they don't care whether it comes from China.
Well,
But we're paying that bill.
that's right.
You know?
We pay twice.
Yeah.
We pay 30% more for our products,
Right.
and we pay welfare to
Yeah.
in the tens of billions of dollars.
But
to
I
the
wouldn't
farmers.
worry about it because we're going to
Oh.
cut Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare and make it all better, right? So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there. So this basically what you're saying is that a big part of your job is to get businesses or tourists, which is one of our big businesses, coming to Nevada. Are there any other areas that you feel could attract businesses here to Southern Nevada or Nevada as a whole that would, help
You mean,
us?
are there any other things that can be done?
Yeah.
Oh, heavens. People are dying to set up factories and warehouses here, but there's simply not enough land. The federal government controls all the
BLM,
land, and the BLM and other agencies, and make it very difficult for us to use the land to create wealth. It's crazy.
Why do you think
It's
that
absolutely
is?
crazy.
Why do you think that is? I mean, I don't really understand, personally, I don't understand the whole concept behind the BLM, and why would they not want to use that land or sell it to us or trade it to us or whatever? Is there...
Well, first, if you read the Constitution, there's nothing about the federal government selling land to a state.
Right.
There is several places in the Constitution that talk about the federal government buying land from the state,
Right.
or paying rent on land from the state, getting permission from the legislature to have the federal government use land. But the federal government comes in like a god and says, here, this is what you're going to do. Right now, today, they're enlarging, the Air Force is enlarging, taking a huge section of a reserve, of a natural reserve,
Right.
in order to have more space to learn how to drop bombs on people.
Yeah.
And without paying a penny to the state. That's not what the Constitution is about. They should be paying rent on all the land that they're using.
Well,
they can have needful land, and even that they should pay rent on.
I built a shooting park up on the end of Decatur, out on the north side.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't build
That's
it
in Clark
myself.
County.
Yeah.
Oh, you helped Clark County build that.
I was the project manager on the job, and yeah.
Really?
It was for the Clark County Parks and Recreation
Oh,
Department.
yeah, right.
And
So you're a friend of Tom Collins.
Oh, yes, I know Tom.
He
Yeah.
was the one that really pushed that.
I worked directly with
So
Tom.
tell me more about that. I'm interested in that.
And the reason that I brought that up is because it is surrounded by BLM land.
Yeah.
And there's huge. I mean, there's a ton of land out there that could be used for other things, for businesses, and I could never understand. Well, why not get some benefit out of it? You know, what the hell's going on there? Why? I understand Yosemite, Yellowstone.
That's
something
right.
like that.
National parks.
We need to
Yeah.
keep that area, you know, for
Pristine.
right. But you know, hey, this is out at the foothills, and you know, I just don't see. I just don't see the
That's right.
yeah. So you know, is there and I'm not saying that you personally, but what can we as Nevadans do to change that? How is that, or is that something that
First of
comes-
all, we have to get aggressive and do a reasonable case against the government. The cases that have been filed against the federal government haven't been well thought out.
Right.
And
do you think that
there's-
it's just been a political stunt that, hey, watch this, we're going to sue the feds to get our land back, but just to get
Well,
votes and
No,
nothing
I
else
don't.
behind it?
They
or-
don't even talk about it now.
Yeah.
You talk to the candidates. They don't even talk about this. That's why I was hoping Craig Mueller would win the Attorney General office,
Right.
because he's really serious.
Yeah.
He understands constitutional issues. He would go after that land.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been done correctly. But the Constitution is very clear about this.
So anyway, I didn't mean to get you off track.
And then there's the practical issues. Why isn't this land being used to produce something?
Right.
This state has 110,000 square miles in it. 500 square miles
well,
out
you
of
leave Las
100
Vegas and there's nothing
Yeah.
between here and Reno.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
500 square miles of privately held land creates almost 70% of the wealth of this that's created by the state of
Right.
Nevada. $100 billion are total GNP, or state product is 150 billion. So 2/3 are developed on this tiny little piece, this pinprick in the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
And how much more could we do if we had control over it? How much we could become the energy capital of the world?
And that's another thing with the solar energy what is your and the reason that I ask these questions is I know as Lieutenant Governor maybe you don't have control over some of the things. However, when it comes to a vote and you're the tiebreaker, which side do you fall on that? I mean, do you
It
think
depends on the issue.
Renewable energy, you know, solar energy is a big thing here in Southern Nevada.
Yeah.
And there's been some going back and forth about, the rebates that people were getting, and they took those away, and that destroyed a lot of jobs.
It destroyed a tremendous.
Yeah.
It was horrible for
Yeah.
the industry, and now it seems to be working very well.
Coming back,
but
yeah.
I wouldn't just confine myself to solar energy. There's geothermal.
No,
The
exactly.
state
That was my
the
point.
state is very is the second most.
So basically,
biggest
what you're
state
saying
with
is
geothermal.
you seriously support renewable energy alternatives.
Green energy.
Right. Yeah.
Another would be nuclear energy. Why not take when I was a kid, we used to go over on Railroad Pass, our family, and watch this incredible fireball suddenly appear in the middle of the desert, and the whole sky light up.
And that's funny because
feel
when I lived here as a kid, you know, they were still doing above ground testing.
Yeah, that's what.
And
that's
my
what I'm talking about.
stepfather worked out at the test site.
And-
And I remember you'd hear on the news, okay, Tuesday at 1:00, don't be climbing up on any ladders or anything because they're going to be testing out at the test site.
Yeah.
And you could feel the ground shaking.
Yeah, right.
And all that
And
stuff.
feel the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why not take that land where they exploded all those bombs and build 10 nuclear plants there for creating electricity and supply the whole state of
Southwestern,
California
yeah.
or all the Southwest
Right.
with energy, and right there on site, as is required by the law today, is a dump where that waste can be taken. The waste is the big problem with
Right.
nuclear energy. That's the big cost, and it's already there. So why not have all these plants there? Send lots of energy down to the coast of California. Let them use that energy to desalt the ocean,
Right. Well, they're
and
using
have
our water, so.
No, that way the water can be left in the
Right.
lake. It can be used for other purposes, and
So
why not
let's-
do? There's so many things that can be done.
This-
Imagine the wealth of 10 nuclear plants, that the income created by that, or the wealth created.
There's still a lot of people that are afraid of nuclear, and
That's-
it's not. It goes back to what we were talking about before the show. It's a matter of disinformation, and I in the military, I was trained in the use of nuclear weapons, so I understand a little bit about that. I'm not an expert. I don't know anything about it. Don't know any secrets. Nothing like that. But there is a lot of misconceptions. You know, you have 3 Mile Island, you have Chernobyl, and all of this stuff that people go, nuclear
Okay.
energy, no,
But
not in my state.
We blew up atomic bombs there.
No,
if Chernobyl
It's
happens
too
out
late
in
now.
the middle of the
Yeah,
desert,
right.
That's not as bad as a nuclear bomb going off.
And I understand that.
So it's already been done. It's
But that's what I was trying to get at is clarifying that, so that this is why you have thought this out, and it's not just, oh, here's an idea, let's build a nuclear plant out
Yeah.
there. You know, that you have.
Where else in the country can you do that?
Right.
Where else can you build a nuclear plant and not have Chernobyl
Right.
type experience where it's really serious?
So cool. So what else? The other question I was going to ask, and I try to ask everybody this. So you get elected to lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
Is that in your eyes, or do you see that as a starting point for something other than?
Oh heavens, no!
No?
I'm too old for that.
Yeah, well, that's what they
no,
all
this
say.
is not a political career.
Okay. So
I just want to.
You felt that was based on your experience, that was the best place for you, or the best office for you to run?
Yes, it's just so heart-wrenching to go to the LVCVA, that's Las Vegas Convention Visitors Bureau,
right.
meetings, and have them go over their ordinary affairs and pat themselves on the back, what a fabulous job they're doing. Well, guess what? We had 39 million tourists in 2007. We had 42 million tourists in 2017, and we're headed lower than that in 2018. That's less than a 10% increase in tourists in 12 years, and yet Macau during the same period of time had a 400% increase and developed their economy so it was 4 times the amount of Las Vegas.
Do you think that there are things that
and
go ahead, I'm sorry.
one other and the people at LVCVA, all they do is cry about the Great Recession. Poor us. The reason we're having these problems is because of the Great Recession. I mean, give me a break.
But
These other countries grew during the Great
If
Recession.
this group of people doesn't have any money, but this group of people does, why not focus on the ones who do?
That's right. Or why not learn from what they
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
There are tourist destinations. Anyone would love to have the business of Las Vegas.
Oh.
40 million people come here and dump their money here, invest. For them, it's an investment, for the Chinese, it's an educational investment.
Right.
And dump their money and don't require anything back. They don't require interest. They don't require return on investment.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay any dividends. It's all just left here.
Yeah.
No, John.
What's
that's why
a better industry?
That's why I'm very impressed with, as a regular guy, a voter, someone who's concerned about the future of Nevada, just like anybody else. Ed has actually identified some issues, some things that needs to be taken care of, or have noticed that, hey, the tourism and gaming revenues are flat. We have another city that's taken up a business model and use our business model in Las Vegas, use it for their city, and guess what they're doing with it? They're running with it.
Yeah.
And they've generated so much money, and here we are, and we have flat revenues. And that's one thing that I like about the initiatives that Ed has, is he's willing to tackle that, and he's looking at the next wave of tourism in Las Vegas, where we can generate more money per person, being that a regular tourist nationally only spend $153 a day versus close to $500 that's a foreign
Right.
tourist.
Right.
Let's take advantage of that.
So there's a new casino, or was a new casino, that opened up right down here on Sahara, just off the Strip, the Golden Dragon.
Right.
And they've closed their doors. To me, that seems ridiculous. Why? I mean, they had a target audience.
That's right.
And why couldn't they get them in?
I really don't know that. I asked myself the same question.
No, I'm in the hospitality industry, and I actually just work very close to the Golden Dragon.
Okay.
And there was a lot of hype with the opening, with the target market of
Right.
Southeast Asians, specifically the
Right.
Chinese market. I think it's the marketing, and I think going back to what Ed is saying is that, as like the LVCVA, we don't really know how to cater or know those preferences of the actual market that we're trying to target.
That is the key right there, and thank you for bringing that up. And I've in the construction industry, I worked for Marriott for a while, and we had a group of Japanese businessmen coming in for some investments in golf courses and things like that.
That's into Las Vegas?
No. This was, I'm sorry, this at the time, this was in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, California.
Oh.
And the having spent time in Japan and being familiar with their culture a little bit, we did everything wrong, because we did not look at the whole package from their perspective. It was all about us and what we could do, and not, we did not know our customer, and that killed us. That killed the deal, and it ruined it first day. And it was just, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm not in a position where I can open my mouth, but afterwards I did.
John, first of all, there
Today
has to
you
be,
are.
Yeah, there has to be a respect of the culture, and with that respect comes the understanding of what the culture is all about.
Right.
Therefore, knowing on their perspective what they would be expecting from us, and that's what's lacking right now.
Yeah.
And part of what has happened in Las Vegas, and like I say, I lived here as a kid. I remember the good old days, and if you want to call it that. But it's today's Las Vegas, and I'm going to get killed for this, but it's just give me your money and get the hell out of here. And it used
That's
to be, when you
unfortunate,
came to
Brian.
Vegas, when you came to Las Vegas,
You were taken care
you were
of.
made welcome. We are so glad you're here. God, come on in. Here's a comp dinner.
No.
Here's this. Here's that. We want your money. Go to the shows. Go to the in our casinos. And now it's just, hey, just give us your money. We don't care. We don't
Nickel
care.
and diming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's-
it's insane, because that puts a lot of people off, and I think that's why
That's one-
$153 a day is all we spend, is because we know that tomorrow they're going to be trying to drag it out of us.
That's right. They're going to add another fee.
Yeah.
Or
And you're gonna
a
pay for
spa.
parking
Now there's
now.
a spa fee.
Yeah. I mean, you're coming in, you're spending a couple $100 a day on a hotel room. You're going to be gambling. You're going to be going to shows, paying a couple $100 a ticket for the shows.
Yeah.
And you're going to charge me $20 a day to park my car?
Yeah, right.
What are you, nuts?
No, that's right.
Anyway, sorry. Sorry.
Getting back to the Lucky Dragon, there were specific things that they did. For example, they have a viewing area over the gaming area. The Chinese gamblers do not like
Yeah.
people overlooking. That's
Who does?
a danger sign. And another thing the hotels don't do is provide a heater for water, a water heater. You wouldn't call it that, but a water pot to heat up water in a few
For tea.
minutes
For
for
tea,
tea,
Right.
or they drink hot water.
Right.
For them, it's considered very bad for your health to drink cold water.
Right.
and yet that's what the
So they
hotels
didn't know-
offer is
they
cold
didn't know the
water.
market.
They offer cold water. They don't offer a way of heating.
So as Lieutenant Governor, if you had your druthers, could you invite delegates here to Las Vegas and say, come on and see what we can do, or help us? How can we make your visits better for your people? What can we do here to create a welcoming environment?
That's right. We should have a law that says anything that is permitted in the country these people are coming from, let's provide that service here also.
That might be kind of dangerous. That might be kind of dangerous.
But
I'm not
why-
sure I agree with
okay,
that one. But
why? What would be dangerous?
well, if you come from a country where it's okay to beat the crap out of your wife
Well,
in public,
no.
we don't want to do that.
Anything he
No.
meant by not
No, I know.
breaking the law.
I tend to take things a little bit too far sometimes, but no, and I understand, but you can't. I think as Americans, we tend to believe that I should be able to do whatever I can do in my own country, I should be able to go to this country and do. It doesn't
Yeah,
work that
okay.
way. You know,
Well-
that we have laws for a specific reason, and if you come to our country, you have to obey our laws. However, when you're in the casino or whatever, I mean, I understand softening things like that so that you are more comfortable and you do understand.
Well, that's it's the opposite. It's been the opposite in China. In 1979, the average wage was about $15 a month,
Right.
and the entire country was in total poverty. What did they do? They said, "Oh, we're going to separate all these state-owned enterprises and let people start making money themselves."
Right.
And so what's happening? The children of those peasants, the children of peasants today, are here in Las Vegas buying homes
Yeah.
with cash,
Right.
and they're dying to invest in the United States. They really respect the United States, and when I first went there in 2002, everyone was reading books by Steve Jobs, by Gates, by all these people. How did they do it? How did
Right.
they? Everyone is so curious about that.
So-
and now they're doing that. They're actually doing these things.
What are your
And
feelings
they,
on?
so they welcome ideas.
What are your feelings on the or your views on the minimum wage?
There's the minimum wage is an attempt by the government to dictate prosperity. The government only disparages or takes away prosperity, and so the notion that a person can come in and dictate, oh, the minimum wage should be X because I declare that should be the minimum wage. No, the wage should be pushed by development, should be pushed from behind by development, by letting people be free and make decisions. We have, in that
Right.
regard, we have too many regulations, too many restrictions, too much costs, and our business creation in Nevada is half of what it was 20 years ago. So,
And you think that's because of certain regulations or just Nevada has been a gaming industry state for so long that we tend to not really pay attention to the other areas that we could be making some serious bucks in.
well, that could be a problem.
Right.
But there are so many opportunities in the tourist business for individuals to create business.
Right.
For example, Airbnb. Let people
Thank you.
host.
Yeah.
Let people host the tourists in their home. Let relationships be developed. What tourist has a relationship with MGM?
Right.
Or with a high official
but
of
if
MGM?
you own MGM, you don't want people coming here and staying in other people's houses.
Well, that's a very short-sighted, and that's the
Of course it is.
short-sighted view
Right.
that's pervaded Las Vegas and caused this 10% increase in 12 years that I talked about earlier. That's exactly what's happening, and very short-sighted. Imagine if we had number of tourists that we should have today, which is 80 million. If we had just grown with the rest of the world, where tourism is doing very well, we would have 80 million tourists today. Okay. Would we have enough hotel rooms to take care of 80 million tourists? No way. In fact, the industry says we don't have enough hotel rooms for 42 million tourists. That's their excuse why we're going down. But do we have hundreds of thousands of spare rooms in people's homes to provide for these tourists? Then what? The tourist stays in the room. What does he do in the night? Where
they're going out to the
is he
shows,
gonna?
they're going to dinner, they're going to the
That's
casinos,
right.
they're going to see
Yeah.
the sights.
Yeah. And a casino floor is a much higher generator of income
Than a hotel room.
Than a hotel room.
Damn right.
Yeah. So
Well, unless you're watching some of the pay-per-view TVs, but no.
what
There's
do you mean by that? I don't understand.
No, I
that.
mean, because if you watch a movie on a TV in your hotel room and they charge you like $5 or something like that.
Well,
So, yeah, I'm just
no.
John, there's also one very important aspect of having an Airbnb.
Thank you, because we're having too much
Right.
fun here.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Is actually the most important is the local experience, right? Of
Right.
having a local host
That-
accommodate and be hospitable to you becomes a memorable trip in itself.
This is in all of my travels, I've always wanted to, and in the military, I got a chance to see a lot of the world. I always wanted to get away from as far
the
away
rest
from
of the
base,
Americans,
right,
and go
and see
learn about the locals.
I learned so much in Japan, and
right.
I spent 2 weeks in the UK, and I'm lucky enough to have family there, and I told them this is my first trip there, never been to the England, and I said, look, I know that there's a whole bunch of touristy stuff that we can do, which is cool, but I want to live like a Brit lives. I want to see how you guys live, what you do, and where do you go? You know, what do you do? And it was awesome, because I mean I still got
That's
to
right.
see a lot of the country, and they took me to a lot of places that aren't normal tourist traps, but I got to stand in the same place that Henry VIII stood. I got to see the original burial spot of Mary, Queen of Scots, and all of these things that we learned in history, to be able to stand there and see this really happened. This wasn't just a movie or a story that you saw, So anyway, so that was cool, and that's. I agree with you that Airbnb, because there used to be a thing, I don't know if it's still going on, called couch surfing. There was a thing on the internet.
That's still going on.
And I actually hosted a couple of people, and that, because I thought, well, that'd be cool, get a chance, and I got to meet a kid from China who was a student there and going to school, and he was only here for 3 days, but got to take him around to Las Vegas and show him some of the things that he normally wouldn't have gotten to see. And for me, it was as much fun an experience for me as it was for him. So, we need more.
Just
of that.
watching his
Absolutely.
reaction or
Yeah.
watching his experience.
I bet he had the
experience
time. They had the time of their lives having
Yeah.
a local host take them around to places that they're going to enjoy, and places that are not too touristy, or
Okay,
that's
so
a great
if
thing.
you're not having to spend money on a hotel room,
Mm-hmm.
you can spend more on dinners, more on
Th-
shows,
exactly.
more on gambling, more
Exactly.
on whatever.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everyone. Not only that, for the local host, it's an opportunity for them to make extra cash to pay for their extra bills.
Well, you know what else it does? It brings us together
That's very important.
more than anything.
Absolutely.
You get a chance, because in my experience, and I'm sure that the same for you, I don't care where you go in the world, we're all the same.
That's right.
We want the same things. We want
That's
a
right.
nice life for our family. We want to be happy. We want to enjoy our lives, and we need more of that.
That's right.
So get those bastards
Give
here,
him-
man.
Yeah, that's right.
Get elected.
Yeah.
Get these
I would-
people here.
I would carry it even further. I would encourage our educational establishments, at whatever level they might be charter schools, they might be public schools, regular public schools, to create programs so that the students in high school or junior high school spend at least 1 year abroad.
I said
and
when a
Airbnb
kid turns
is the first
14
step
years
to that.
old, when a kid
Yeah.
turns 14 years old, you take them out of school and they travel the world. And then
There
they come
you go.
back and
Yeah,
go back to
that's
school.
right. Yeah.
When you
That's
start
right.
high school, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and you get a chance to see what the rest of the world is, because we in this country are so spoiled. We take everything for granted. We assume that everybody in the world lives like us. We don't.
Right.
We are some lucky sons of bitches to be born here.
Yeah.
And there's a level of ignorance right now of how they know what they know or what they assume to be in a different culture. If they would have traveled, they would know, oh, okay, this is how they live, and that's how
Right.
it is over there. It's
Yeah.
not always the way we live here. They have a better understanding, therefore you won't hear anything, some really ridiculous comments, because you're just making an assumption because
Yeah.
you don't know. You know, that gives a lot of young people an opportunity to really be more worldly and more
And when they
knowledgeable.
and when they get back here, they will start thinking, what sort of a business can I create for the people
Right.
that I just associated
Yeah.
with?
And,
What
and
do they
have
want?
an
How can-
appreciation for what we have
Yeah.
here and how lucky we are.
Yeah.
So-
And besides that,
Yeah.
that's right.
And instead of, you know,
Instead of
never mind.
what?
Yeah, hooray for me and to hell with you.
No, yeah, 14 is the exact age when the whole school thing declines.
Yeah.
And when kids start getting involved in drugs and they start doing other things. Imagine if they're in a foreign country and they start doing those things.
Yeah.
No, they will. I know the case of China. In fact, I've tried to take. I have the opportunity where Nevada students can study in China, and the school will pay for their tuition. They'll pay for their dorm stay
Yeah.
and everything. Because the Chinese want someone who speaks English in that class to impact their kids. Well,
Where do I sign up?
Well, imagine all those kids in that school are thinking, I'd better be pleasing my parents. My parents want me to make straight A's. My parents want me to be able to support them when I grow up, when I get a good job. They're all oriented toward going to college.
They're oriented to making themselves better, and they understand that they have to work to do that.
That's right.
That's what we've lost in this country.
There's a link
We expect
between.
it to be handed to us.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah,
I was born
is it-
here, so you owe it to me.
That's right. We're entitled. We have this entitlement.
Entitlement.
mentality.
That's it. Yeah, we're entitled. Yeah.
And these people don't have this
No.
entitlement concept, and so those kids they have 50 kids in their schoolroom. They're listening to what the teacher's saying. They're learning.
We have when I was growing up, and I'm sure you experienced this too. What this country did, I mean, is amazing. What we were able to accomplish, sending people to the moon, you know, the space program, things like this, the calculators, computers. Look at what we have today.
Yeah.
Now, 20 years from now, what are we going to have? We ain't
That's
going to have
right.
shit. We're not,
We're
because
gonna
we
have-
are not. We have given all that up. We're sitting on our behinds and assuming that everybody owes us everything. There is no innovation. There is no focus on medicine, science, all the things that we could be doing. You know, when we were kids, where the hell's our flying cars? Right?
Yeah.
We were supposed to
That's
have
right.
flying cars by now.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah, that's right.
We could have.
And in fact, the generation today, the generation coming up, everyone expects them to have lower standard of living than the current generation.
Right. And we had just
that's
the
the
opposite.
first
The
time
next generation-
first time in history that the United States has faced that.
You want your kids to do better than
That's
you do.
right.
Right.
And-
And you look all over the world and roads that are made out of just all different kinds of. I've just gone blank because I was just reading an article about one of the countries in Europe.
Is going to have electricity in the roads? And
No. Their roads are made of a recycled material.
Okay.
That lasts 100 times longer than concrete.
Oh, really?
And why are we doing this? You know, look at the used tires that get thrown away and can be ground up and used in asphalt and all that kind of stuff. And
That's
I see
correct,
every
yeah.
day I'm driving home and going through the spaghetti bowl and seeing all the work that's going on there. And you know what? It's 10 years too late. By the time they get
It's
that
always-
finished, we are so much past what the needs are.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Well, and that's
You're running for office, I'm not, sorry.
That's due to our very defective pattern or idea of development, which is sprawl.
Right.
We all our cities are sprawling, which sprawl destroys the inner city, the downtown area, sends all the wealth to the outside, and creates an endless need for new lanes of traffic.
Right.
In the case of the spaghetti bowl, that's a giant subsidy for Summerlin.
Yeah.
$1 billion subsidy for the richest people
Right.
in the county to create. I think they're creating like 3 or 4 miles of new lanes.
Yeah.
$1 billion to create 3. It might be more. It might be up to 7 or 8 miles of lanes. Well, that just doesn't make any sense at all. And in fact, I've been trying to encourage the LVCVA and the county government forget the surface train, the surface light rail,
Right.
and build a subway. A subway is a modern 20th century world-class transportation system that will enable would bring together the whole resort corridor in such a way that people could get around. It would relieve the congestion, first
Right.
of all, and it would meet the expectations of virtually every traveler in the world, that you leave the airport, you get on the train, and you get to your destination, and you don't have to wait in the heat and long lines for taxis and so on.
When I was in the UK, all right, I had been there a week, and I had a friend that works in London, and so my relatives live up in the central part of England. They call it the Midlands, and it's about 2 hours north of London. So we went down and spent the day in London, and they left me there, and I spent a couple of days with my friend who lived there. And when I was going to come back, now I'd only been in the country a week, so
Yeah.
I really didn't know anything. I knew the language, of course, well, kind of, but
Kind of.
so I left her flat in the morning, walked up to the corner, got on the bus, took the bus to the underground, got on the underground, took the underground to the train station, got on the train, took the train to the station up in the Midlands. And so this took me the total trip took me about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Takes you 2 hours to drive it. And so this whole thing took me about 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Now, never done it before, complete stranger, but you get on the bus or you go to the bus stop and it's got a route there. It shows you where all the stops are, where to go. If you want to go from here to here to here, same thing. You get on the bus all over the place. You go to here to here to here, and the same thing with the underground.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And
Yeah.
and it was like, the whole thing cost me less than gas money would have cost to drive there and back.
That's right.
We can do
That's
that
right.
here.
That's right.
And this goes back to what I was talking about, the innovation.
Yeah.
We stopped thinking that way. We stopped
Yeah.
thinking about, or for whatever reason is like, well, I own all these gas stations. I'm not going to I'm going to donate to this guy's campaign because he wants to keep this going. He's not going to let that happen.
Yeah,
He's going to
that's
vote
right.
against that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is
They're
your feeling?
obstructionists. So-
I'm not even going to go there. Never mind. Money in
So,
politics. I'm sorry.
in
go
the
ahead.
case of the subway, imagine the development that would occur if we had a subway that went from the airport over to the stadium, to the Strip, to downtown, and then back along Maryland Parkway and the Boulevard Mall and the Convention Center and so on, or UNLV
Right.
and the airport. Imagine the development money that would come in here to build apartment buildings above those
Oh, hell
stations,
yes.
or anywhere close, anywhere within walking distance of those stadiums.
Yeah.
1 million, 2 million, 3 million people could be living in the central area, and they wouldn't need a car.
Right.
They could get around on bicycles or walking or using the subway. And that's
You're preaching to the choir, brother.
the wealth would come back to the center of the city, and we would have the second city, the second real city in the United States,
Right.
after New York.
So and
Instead, we're going the opposite direction and creating poverty for ourselves.
there's other than stupidity, there's got to be a reason that we're not doing that.
Okay, so what do you think?
I
the
don't know.
reason-
That's what I'm saying. Other than stupidity, it's got to come
there-
down to the bucks, right?
Yeah, the cost is
Yeah.
is a major factor.
But wait. The cost is always a major factor. What did it cost us to send a man to the moon?
Yeah,
Look at what we gained from that. This phone right here is a direct result
Yeah.
of these people going to the moon or going to space. You know, our calculators, our computers, you know, this is a direct result of, it cost a fortune, but the problem is that people want an immediate return on their investment.
yeah. Well, and for public infrastructure, it's been made almost impossible by the prevailing wage.
Yeah.
Where they get a guy working in McDonald's for $12 an hour, and all of a sudden, because he's holding a flag on a road, he has to get paid $50 or $60 an hour.
Yeah, Davis
Plus-
Bacon is one of the worst things that's happened to this country.
Yeah.
Have been in construction all my life, so believe me.
Oh, so you,
Yeah.
okay. So who can construct? Who can
Right.
build? That's all assessed to the taxpayer. The politicians do that. They give that bill to the taxpayer because they can't squawk in the
Sure.
same way if someone else had to pay the bill. In the case of the subway, there are companies in the world that are wealthy enough to build a subway like that and make a profit off it. The RTC is talking about losses for doing their train,
Right.
and the $750 million they're projecting for that one route, which won't relieve hardly any.
Okay, so let me
It'll create congestion.
let me propose a situation here. You are a developer here in Nevada.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that as a developer, if you help fund this transportation system, we are going to allow you as a developer to build on this particular piece of property, and we'll give you a break on the price and maybe a little break on the taxes in exchange for you funding a portion of this.
Well.
You
Yeah.
think something like that
Yeah.
could work?
Well, I don't
Because
think
you're gonna get
I
the
don't think
benefit
it's-
from-
I don't think it's necessary.
Right.
If imagine the increase in value of land if you suddenly can can build a 20-story apartment building on top of your land instead of having a single-family house.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
It's much more valuable.
Yeah.
The value will be self-generated, and there will billions, tens of billions of dollars in investment would come to a situation like that.
And I'm sorry, but we're kind of running short on time.
We are? We have to.
Yeah.
You're gonna make us end this?
Yeah. What I'd like you to do is just give us a little short history of who you are, how you got here, and why we should vote for you.
Well, I got here during World War II with my parents. My father was transferred in the federal government to work after the dam was completed in Boulder City. So I was raised in Boulder City. I remember the day that, or the night that Bugsy Siegel opened up the Flamingo the Flamingo Hotel, and I particularly remember the early 50s or the mid 50s when there was so much energy everywhere. There were houses and housing developments being built everywhere. There were hotels being built. All our neighbors, my parents, were saying, these people are absolutely crazy. There's no way that they're going to get people to come to all those hotel rooms or sell all those houses. Impossible. And the people did it because then people could do things.
Yeah.
The government didn't dictate every step that you had to take to do something. So that was the first wave of development in Las Vegas. The second wave was when the Mirage opened and these mega resorts
Right.
came came in style and increased tourism back in the early 90s. And since then, everyone, all these people that are benefiting from this are just sitting back and trying to figure out how can we grab more money from what we have here. Well, we
That's
need
what
a
happens
third
when you
wave.
get bean counters running the show.
There you go. That's right.
Sorry, go ahead,
There,
please.
yeah, we have corporations.
Yep.
They're concerned about 3 months of what's going to happen.
Yep.
I hate to talk about China, but they're thinking, well, what's going to happen 20 years from now?
Exactly.
What's going to happen when I'm old and when my children, they're thinking a much longer time range.
So why should we vote for you?
The goal for me is to go to the market, the world market of tourists, which is the number one industry in the world, as far as I know, and let them experience Las Vegas, let them experience Las Vegans, and see how cooperation works. We're not just having to fight over everything.
Cool.
So that's the point of view I come from. That's what I would like to see happen.
If people would like to know more about you and what you stand for and why they should vote for you, where can they get a hold of you, or where could they get more information?
Well, they should go to the Facebook page, Ed Uehling for Lieutenant Governor.
Could you spell that last name, please?
Oh, yes, it is a little bit difficult. Yes, it's Uehling, Ed Uehling for Lieutenant Governor.
And you are nonpartisan,
That's right.
so you'd be a great tiebreaker.
Well, I think so.
Yeah. Have you always been nonpartisan?
No, lately I've been very discouraged by this war that is occurring between the Republicans and Democrats that is just totally party based. It has nothing to do with what the society needs or what people need. It has to do with what is my party saying and what is that other party saying.
Right.
If they say something, we've got to say the opposite.
Right.
I mean, it's
Sad.
an incredible war.
Well,
And
Ed, I really, really sincerely wish you a lot of luck. I hope that that you can do this. I think that you would be great for the state. I think you'd be great for business. And I hope that if you do get in, that you don't see that as, well, I'm just going to get in there, do what I can, and then get out. I think that with some of your ideas and your thought processes, could be a good thing for the state of Nevada.
well, thank you very much.
And
I
I
really
don't
appreciate
endorse
that.
candidates, so I'm not endorsing this candidate. But
Vote Ed Uehling, Lieutenant Governor, nonpartisan.
as you all know from tuning into some of the past shows, that the whole point of this is to educate the voters. We're running out of time. Get out there, vote, 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 vote. Take your friends, get whoever. If there's I think Uber and Lyft are all offering rides to the polls. There is no excuse. If you do not vote in this election, get the hell out. We had 46% of eligible voters did not vote in the last presidential election.
Oh, really?
46%.
Well,
So that means out of 10 people, you got 6 people that are running the show for everybody else. If you want to say your part, this is your chance. And you young people, you can make the difference. You have the power. You are the ones that are going to have to live with what we're doing for the next 20, 30 years. So you better get your little butts out there and vote. Ed, thank you again very much.
Thank you very much, John.
And Marco,
Yes.
thank you, sir.
Thank you
and,
very much.
You're doing a fine job. I appreciate it. And gentlemen, all I can say is thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Guys, this may or may not be the last one before the election, so just do your homework, please. And thank you for tuning in. Bye.